Hi.
Hi, Chris.
Oh, hi.
I have a question.
Okay, that's fine, Jeanette. Yeah.
Hi. So I have two
Oh,
quick
hi. I see
questions.
you there. Yeah.
Okay. So I came in a little late, so I'm pretty sure you had mentioned it, but I just want to confirm that you anticipate this happening on in January of 2023. Is that right?
February 4.
Of 2023.
Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
And do you believe it's going to be like slowly emerging, like a few drops coming in, then rain, then flood, or is it going to be like a gush and all the water is just going to flood in all at once?
Well, a combination of the two, because it depends on what time frame you're thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as 2022 progresses, the weather will get much worse, and which is we can deal with that, right? We can deal with the thunderstorm, right? We can deal as long as you're
Yes.
not living on a river plain, you know, or on a hillside, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on a mountain hillside. You're not living in those situations. We can deal with that. We can deal with all kinds of stuff, right? But the most confusing thing will be the violent earth. Well, I should call it violent. I'll call it extreme earth wobble.
So that would be like earthquake,
No, earth wobble.
tremors.
Earth wobble. Right. Well,
Oh.
earthquakes would be the other thing, right? Um,
Mm.
but depending on the country where you're at, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously a big earthquake is a very devastating thing. So that is definitely the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they are happening now, depending where you are, right? So it is conditional. What I'm saying here is conditional, right? Is where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Okay.
the weather, the most confusing thing will be um, earth wobble that throws the sun out of place.
Wow.
Okay, so the sun has already been out of place now for years and years. It's subtle though. The sunset times, sunrise times are different and they vary. And then you've got the moon. Is that you observe the moon before full? It's too low. So you watch as these next days progress. If you have to be able to see the moon, it'll start rising. If you follow it at the same apex, right? The same, each night you go out and look at the moon. You know, it's a few, it's a half hour or so ahead of you. So right? So you got to make sure you're out at the same time when the moon is, say, over a fir tree or over a house or something like that. When it's directly, so you have a marker. In the next few days, the moon will be approaching full.
Okay.
So if you were to photograph the moon right when it's over a particular marker, right, you'll notice it's slowly rising when it shouldn't.
Mm.
It shouldn't do that, right? Because
Right.
the moon has an established arc, right? But no,
Yes.
the establishment is not talking about it, right? So,
Mm.
and then so what will happen is that it'll to full, it'll slowly rise to about, I've noticed at about the full moon position, it's about its normal arc, approximately, right? From what I remember, right? But after full, it'll continue to rise. Okay,
Mm.
so you watch that, and
Okay.
but you'll have to go out at end up going out at 4 o'clock in the morning to see to check it, right? But so the moon, I was telling some people recently, some customers of mine that came by, I still work, and I'm telling them about it, and I said, when a heavenly object is out of place, we got a big problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is not.
This is
So I said, you
fun.
go look at the moon and follow it, and you'll see that it's out of place, right? So when the sun is not uh, this. If you were to able to photograph the moon or the sun, for example, in its arc, you'd notice that the arc would flatten off, right? I don't know if you can see me. The
Mm-hmm.
arc would flatten off and then rise, right? And have it have flat spots on the. That's because of earth wobble. See, right? So this is happening more and more, right? So that will become much worse as 2022 progresses. So that is what's very confusing when you've got, and it will happen in late 2022. You'll have night when you should have day.
Wow.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. In fact, it's actually I saw a video. Again, so I'm not into all the reporting of the effects. I just focus on safe locations. That's what I'm about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this stuff that I'm talking about just comes by my desk. I just and I have a memory. I can remember these things, right? But I don't focus on dates and times and URLs and stuff like that for people, right? Other people do that, right? But I have seen a video and heard reports where the sun rose in the morning and went back down again. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I saw the video. Okay? That's earth wobble happening just at sunrise. Okay?
And there's evidence that it's like you're not making it up, or people are not making it up. It's right there in front of your
right
eyes
there.
to see.
There's other stuff going on too. Like there's like the sun blinking, right? I've seen the videos in different areas of the world, right? Different countries, different cell phones, different people recording the same thing. The sun is like blinking, right?
Yeah.
And that's from, I believe the Zetas have described that as petro bubbles. So what a lot of people don't know is that this is an amazing thing, that our crude oil comes from Planet X, not from rotted vegetation. They say a little bit, but the majority of it drops in the sky during the pole shift. Okay? Do you believe that? I don't care if you don't, but do you believe that? I don't care. I want to hear. Do you believe it?
I mean, I'm gonna look and see. I'm gonna start checking out the moon and see for myself.
No, about the petrol, about the crude oil.
Coming from Planet X?
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So the it has a tail that's 5 million miles long, and it's made up of planets that were broken up in prior pole shifts. So given that it's a magnetic and a gravitational monster, right? All the broken pieces gather up behind the planet as it moves through the interstellar space, right? So it's moving in a sling orbit, and so it's dragging all these broken up planets, and asteroids, and stuff, right? And it's full of iron oxide and petrol, crude oil. I mean, we've been lied to, right?
Yeah.
We've been lied to, right?
Big time.
It's time now, right? This is the time. So, anyways, the pole shift's survivable. You just have to get into the bunker at the right time. You got yeah. So the weather will get increasingly bad. And now, have you seen my calendar?
No, I haven't.
Can you see this?
Yes.
So that, I will put that URL in the chat, and you will be able to download that right there.
Thank
okay?
you.
All right. So that gives you an idea as to how things will progress in late 2022.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's my main concern.
Yeah,
Thank you
okay.
so much, Chris.
Okay, you're so welcome. Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. Hello,
This
Roseanne.
is Roseanne.
Hi, Roseanne.
Roseanne
I remember you.
from
I remember you. Yep. I know who I'm talking to.
From Woodbridge, Ontario,
Yeah.
areas of United States.
Yes. Yep.
Danger zones,
Yep.
warning zones.
Yep.
Could we have that for Canada as well?
I don't have that made up for Canada because most of Canada is safe.
Is it? I heard Nancy Leader was saying that Canada is going to go underwater.
No.
No.
The north will get a lot of water. Like Northwest Territories will get is low. That will get a lot of water. But it was so. I looked at Canada, and northern Canada is so unpopulated. I'm sure there's areas in Canada where nobody has ever walked before.
Yeah, it's a big country.
It's huge, and maybe is second largest country in the world, and it's all the population is basically within about 150 or 50 miles from the border, the U.S. So it's just it's virgin land, right? But anyways, that's why I didn't do a map on because it's So I did.
Are you talking about the north? I mean, above the Great Lakes?
Yeah.
So
all the way
the
up.
Great Lakes. What about below Great Lakes?
Well, okay. So you have to be more specific for me to because now what I will show you. I'll let you watch the video, okay? And that is the video on. Now I've got these videos here. Can you see these videos?
Yes.
Okay. All these videos are on there's Manitoba and Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, right? And
Sorry, where are they? Where can I find
well,
them?
if you go here.
Is it on YouTube?
Yep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in the chat. Okay, you click on that. Okay, and that'll take you to the list, and you go through the list, and I've got videos on Canada.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so next question.
I can go next, Chris.
Hi. Oh, hi, Ahmed.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Am I next, or do you want to take somebody else, or?
No, it's fine. You go ahead. Ahmed, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So, can I say something about the oil in the tail of Nibiru? Can
Yeah.
I say something like that?
Yeah.
So the theory that the vegetation is the source of the oil does not explain the location, because if you look at the map in the Middle East, for example, you see the oil in eastern Saudi Arabia, nothing in the west.
Yeah.
And then Egypt, for example, which has a lot of vegetation, have the Nile all over, does not have any oil.
Yeah.
So it doesn't explain the locations of where you find the oil.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But your theory does explain it.
Well, it's not my theory. I'm glad you said that. This is data talk information, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, thank you.
My second question is, you did mention in a previous session that you plotted the location of the North Pole.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, there was something different
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have that? I wanted to take that because
I don't have the graph at this point. I had a computer crash.
Okay.
But just for the group and for the video, I'll explain what you're asking about, and that is I forget why it was that I started in on because I know why, because I was writing my book and I was in that section where I was discussing magnetic events on Earth, like for example the moving magnetic North Pole, etc. And a few things like the pole flip lie magnetic pole flip lie. So I was completely destroyed that theory in my book. In the process, I decided to plot the movement of the North Pole, North Magnetic Pole, from 1900, when they first started yearly, every 5 years they started plotting it. So from 1900 to, I don't know, sometime in the early 80s or late 70s, they switched it up to yearly measurements of plotting exactly where the North Mag was. And so, from 1900 through to 2020, I made up a graph and I plotted the movements of the North Mag. And what I discovered that in 2004, the movement of the North Mag almost came to a stop. And so the graph virtually drops like a rock at that point, right? So you had time, or every year, and you had the amount of movement was the vertical. So it climbed up until about 2004, and it dropped completely to almost no movement at all. So I thought, aha. So 2004 is when Planet X came around, had migrated around the sun, past the sun, and came up against the ecliptic, the sun's ecliptic, when it had to go through virtually a stop or an extremely slow crawl. So my graph proved that the movement of the North Mag was to do with the entry of Planet X into the solar system, and now it's begun moving since then because Planet X is actually gaining on Earth now. So that was the graph, and that'll be in the book, my book.
Okay, sounds good. One last question, if you have time.
Yeah, I surely do. Yeah.
The map with the flood levels. So in a country like Egypt, where you have a big river, it does not show where the river, like how far the river is going to go. So it's only does it only show where the sea water is going to go?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So what distance? Because a lot of people are living on the river. So how far should they go?
Oh, I don't know. That would be okay. The only thing I can offer is this: that Zeta Talk has said that in order to get an idea as the amount to the level of the river that you live near, how high it will rise during the pole shift, is that you find the historical data on the highest the river has ever risen, and then you multiply it by 3. Okay, so that should give you the extent, right? So
that doesn't take into account the dams, right? If there's a dam.
No, it doesn't. You're right, it doesn't. Okay. If you're downstream from a dam, well, you don't want to be on a river plain or too close to it, right? So, yeah. So that's something you determine more. It was specific consultation, as far as I'm concerned.
Hi, Crude.
Hi, Mandy. Hi, I'm Mandy. Oh, you got it figured out, eh? Okay.
Yeah, I had to go to my settings and allow the microphone access. But okay, so I was asking about the bunker situation. I'm from South Carolina, and I'm pretty sure you can tell that in my accent.
I was just gonna say. I love it. Yeah.
Upstate, and I'm right below Greenville and Bowling Springs, but I'm thinking about getting some land very, very shortly in the near future in the Appalachian Mountains, because that's the closest for me. and I was wanting to know about, what I need to do as far as bunker situation.
Well, a bunker. Okay. Okay, we'll cover bunkers. Okay. I think about this stuff every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get these up and running here. Bunkers. The basic bunker, the basic simple, well, trench, survival trench of a World War I trench.
Okay.
So you can see this?
Yes.
Okay. That's pretty much something that you want to build.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure we can do that. My husband is a retired armed combat vet, and so
Wow. Awesome.
and I've already started getting like things together. I've got some seeds stored up, water filters, just things here and there, to kind of start getting everything ready.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted to know. I guess the Appalachian will probably be the same place for me to get to the quickest.
Yep. Don't forget you have to make sure your root is solid, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's a very important feature. Right. Now, I think you probably know you have to have a roof on this. You have to have a roof on this trench, right? A steel roof.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, and I wouldn't suggest a room like this in the bunker unless it was lined with, unless you built it with poured cement.
Okay.
This is a cement room. Or maybe, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can box culverts like this,
Mm-hmm.
like these sort of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could embed that and have have that as part of your construction.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Okay. Was that your question?
Yeah, that was just it gives me an idea on what the way I need to start looking in what direction.
Yeah. Okay. Just watch out for mudslides or any way for local water to reach you.
Get,
Okay.
Places there's a lot of caves there too.
Yeah. If you gotta make sure it's not a wet cave.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Very important that it's a dry cave.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about caves is that if they have any bats in them,
Mm-hmm.
you can get sick from there's a disease you can get from the bat guana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and also the other thing about caves is you would want a radon detector and a mask that's capable of filtering out radon gas.
Okay.
Okay, because you don't want to be being sick in the first months of the after time.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, radon detectors I don't think they cost a lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a radon, yeah. So if you're in a cave, yeah, and it's got to be a dry cave.
Okay.
Okay.
Correct. What is radon is coming from where? Is it from the
coming from the rock, from the ground? I don't know exactly where. I think it comes from the rock, but I definitely from the ground. Yeah. I mean,
I think you also talked about is it lead detector, something like that?
Yeah, well, that's for water, right? So your water in the after time, you need well, okay, so water. Well, let's talk about water for a sec then. Okay, there's about 6 different vectors I think would be best for water. First of all, you need absolutely secure, potable, drinkable water, and then that be gotten through stored potable water that we have now, and you store it, right? The other factor for potable water is a distiller. So you have a method of distilling water, right? So those are the two most preferred methods for water in the early apatime. The next would be water that's seriously filtered, like a very high quality filter, which won't take out lead apparently. Now I was going to research this again. I researched it a few years ago. That I haven't found a filter system that could remove lead, because there will be lead in the water because of the action of the continental action and the roiling of the magma below the continental water source, and it's going to get into the water, and then it's going to end up in the groundwater. Also, there's a lot of lead in the volcanic ash falling from the sky. If you're within, there's going to be lead around, more lead in the environment. So you get a water filter. So then the companion to your water filter system would be a lead testing kit, like a bunch of them, right? Mm-hmm. So that way you can measure the lead in the water, and you got to make sure you know what amount of lead is acceptable. And I don't know, right? I don't know what that is. You have to research that, okay? Now there was another. So I had this detailed discussion with this guy, and we went all into it. So I think that's there's at least 3 vectors there, and of course the others would be if you're taking water from a well or from rainwater. Certainly, you're not going to take water like surface water, right? I mean, if you have to drink surface water, then you're obviously going to have to filter it, boil it, and test it for lead. Right? So then, okay. So all of your water that's moving around the rivers or the lakes, you'll have to test for against lead. And of course, in the early apatime, to about 5 months, I think, or so, much of the groundwater, including the streams and the lakes, will have iron oxide dust in it from the tail of Planet X, and that would be totally undrinkable, totally unusable. So you have to wait for that iron oxide to be washed away, right, and to be replenished by fresh water. Yeah. So those are your basic. So I forgot why I got into water.
So Chris, how many days should you have water supply for? Like 5 months?
I don't know. That's the number that came to me when I was talking to somebody else about it. 5 months.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah. Now, of course, we're talking drinking water here, cooking water.
Yeah, water.
We're not talking about wash water here. But I'm sure you can wash in a lake that doesn't have, or a stream that doesn't have too much iron oxide in it. Yeah, right? You could wash in a stream, right? Or take that water and put it through a basic crude filter, which is a container that has gauze, cotton gauze at the bottom, and a metal screen or some kind of a screen, and then you put in, you lay in lots of cotton gauze, and you put in sand, right? A nice couple of feet of sand. Then you put fine pebble or fine rock at the very top, and something that's a crude. There's lots of videos on how to build those, and that would be good for wash water. But you'd want to filter that and then boil it for wash water. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I've made those myself. So you'd add probably below the sand, between the sand and the gauze, a layer of just charcoal. You burn some logs, right? And then that's what I've done. And I took the charcoal from it and just crushed it and just put it in. I was experimenting. Yeah. So that's an absolutely good idea. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Now, so Karen was asking about the room in the bunker because, as I was saying, this room here in this picture here, it wouldn't work because it's dug out by a man, so it wouldn't be strong enough to support to handle an earthquake. So that's why this would have to actually be some type of box culvert or some type of cement structure that you would integrate into the trench. You don't need it, but that's why I'm saying this would collapse during the pole shift because of the earthquakes. That's why.
Chris, I have a question, but it's not about safe locations. What do you think of plane travel in 2022, next year, and closer towards the pole shift? Do you ever advise people not to do plane travel? And do you think there would not be this option available?
Okay, so the EMP pulse knocking out a vehicle's computer,
Yeah.
right, while you're driving it. Yeah, that's very possible.
And airplanes especially.
And what?
Airplanes.
Oh, well, you don't want to be flying at all, right? But that's where waking dreams come in. Okay, I'll talk about that for a bit. I know you probably heard it before, but for the group, so I'm a big believer in waking dreams. Okay, but I would say, okay, before I get into waking dreams, a thought came to me is if you have to drive around in the fall of 2022, get yourself an old beater truck that has an old-fashioned distributor in it, no electronics, right? That way you can move around without having your, it won't be affected by the EMP. Okay, so that's one way of getting around without being stranded. Because if you've got some fancy new truck or even a simple little inexpensive car these days has got a computer in it, right? And it will definitely be disabled by EMP pulses for sure. So waking dreams are basically it's if anybody has any strong hunches that play out to be true, right? Because some people confuse hunches with wish preferences. So I'm not talking about egotistical or egoistic preferences. Oh, I like this thing or I like that, right? That's not, that person, God bless them, is totally in their head, right? But I'm talking about a genuine hunch that you follow out, and you obviously will have done this before, and it proves to be true, okay? So a strong hunch, which is intuitive, a visual, such as what we call a vision, which is a vision is this spiritual fact about your environment or about your life that's being overlaid directly on your physical vision while you're walking along. Okay, you could be sitting somewhere, you could be meditating, and boom, you're seeing what you need to see through your third eye. Is what's happening. Okay, so that is a vision. People call it different things, right? So hunches, a serious hunch, a vision, or a sleep dream. And I'm just, for the sake of being accurate here, a sleep dream is a dream experience that you remember when you wake up, or that you were conscious of while you were having it, and then you remember it when you wake up. Now that would be one that you remembered, rather that you were conscious in while dreaming, while your body was asleep. That is classic what they call a lucid dream. Okay, so you got lucid dreams and you got dreams that you wake up and, oh my God, I had a dream, right? So you remember the dream, okay? All those processes are all the same process. There's no difference in the root cause of the experience, right? So the information that you're being given is coming from the same source. It is you're just experiencing it in different ways, as I said, through hunching, through a hunch, a visual, a vision, a sleep dream, or a lucid dream. Now there's an extension to that that most people usually don't recognize, that a lot of people I've found, while teaching people about waking dreams, I've found that they're already using the waking dreams. They call them synchronicities, right? So, but that's a common word, and it implies sort of a happenstance. It certainly is a happenstance, that's for sure. But waking dreams, the cool thing about a waking dream is that you can interact with it consciously. You can talk to it. You can ask for clarifications on things. You can just say, hey, you want to know something about something, and you just wait for an answer. And it'll come through any kind of sound that comes into your ear, or any kind of visual that enters your eyes, right? So that includes bird song, some words that somebody will speak as you're walking by. Ever walk down the street and you're walking down the street and there's a couple of people standing by the road, standing by the sidewalk there, and they're talking. And as you walk by, you hear one or two words that pop out of the conversation. That is very often a waking dream, and so the word will come to you. I've had it. Want to give you an example? Back in '95, I was really tired one day. About 2 o'clock, went in to have a late breakfast restaurant, and like I'm wiped and self-employed. I was thinking to myself, Jesus, should I go home or go out to work again this afternoon? And what came out of a conversation across the room? These guys were talking. The only two words I heard were "go home." I swear to you. So that was an example. I can give you lots of different examples about waking dreams, visuals, little vignettes that play out in front of me that I've seen. So that's how. So what it is, you think you're awake. We think we're awake during the day, but really what we are is we're in a huge big dream. Our whole lives are in one big dream. It's one big dream, and frankly, a vision, a hunch, a sleep dream, or a waking dream, or a lucid dream, that is where the consciousness is, not in our minds as we go through the day. When we go through the day again, we're in a big dream state, a body living human dream state. And it's the visions that is the brilliant consciousness that's coming into our mind. So you've got to understand that. So that's confusing to people who are, and like myself, you're used to calculating your life, planning things, like trying to work out details, which we have to do. But it's a fact that the dream process is more real than our thinking. So that's a little blurb on that. So you could be walking along, you're thinking about, geez, should I move to this town or area in the Appalachian Mountains or someplace for the pole shift? And then you're standing at a stop walk, or you're at a sidewalk, or your car is stopped. You're waiting for the light to turn green, and so you're thinking, and just as you look up, the light goes green. The instant you're thinking about going to some town in the Appalachian Mountains or some area there, and just as you become aware of the light, it turns green at that moment. Okay, that is a positive waking dream for you to go there. Okay, I'll give you an example. Another visual. I was riding along on my motorcycle without a helmet on in a rural area, and I wanted to have the the experience of riding my bike without a helmet. And I asked my guide for a waking dream, so that to let me know if any cops were going to come by and give me a ticket, right? So I'm riding along, no helmet on. I said, I want a waking dream. He said, just wait, one's coming up. So a few seconds later, I passed this house and it had a driveway, and in the driveway, in the property, was a cop car. Now it was an old one from the 80s. If you remember the old cop cars with the white door, right, and the cherry on top, right, and had police in black letters on the door, right. It's like right out of Dukes of Hazzard. It's like, so yeah. So I see this, and it's for sale, right? So right away I knew that I wasn't going to be stopped. I wouldn't run across any police, right? And it proved to be true, right? So that's now I passed that waking dream by other people and they don't understand. Well, you saw a police car. Would that mean that the police were going to come? And I said, no, it doesn't, because number one, the car was for sale. Number two, it was parked, and number two, it was from the 80s, and number three, it didn't have a policeman in it, right? So that's the way waking dreams work. So yeah, so you want to play with them and start with simple requests, like you're going somewhere and you got a choice which direction to go, right? Do I go take this route, or do I take this other route, right? Something simple, something that's not life altering, right? So then you ask for a waking dream to tell you which way to go, right? So I did this one time, and I didn't ask. I didn't, because I see them on the fly, right? So I'm driving to a customer's house, and I couldn't remember whether it was going to go right or left on the cul-de-sac. And I see this guy standing on the side of the road talking to a lady, pointing this way, like this, right? So I knew that was the direction to go, right? And then worked out. So that's my little verb on waking dreams. So play with them, because it's your oversoul telling you that your choice for property is okay or it's dangerous. Now, in one of my, I can't remember, it was a video. Yeah, it was a video. It was one of my videos. I created set waking dreams. Set waking dreams. That means, so if you read it, if you watch the video, I can't remember which one it was on. One of my last 15, and I created different animal sightings to mean different things, right? You know, the typical black cat, right? Right? So I made a list. I think it's in the New Zealand video, and so you can use those, because I was promised that the oversouls would use those images for people who watch that video. On the other hand, you can set your own waking dream. So you can say, well, I'll give you an example. I wanted to know if something was true or not in my life about a year ago, and I wasn't sure. So I said to my oversoul, no, I can talk to my oversoul, but when you speak and think, you're talking to your oversoul. Trust me, okay? Um, I said, okay, for a yes on this, because I had a choice between yes and no, right? Between yes and no, right? It's not a choice between gray and grayer, okay, right? Or, it's not it's a choice between yes and no. This is how this works, right? This particular type of waking dream. I said, well, for a yes, I want to see a pink dancing turtle. What would be the use of saying I want to see a coffee cup, right? Because on the internet or I pick up a coffee every day, right? So you want something unusual, right? So I said, for a yes, I want to see a pink dancing turtle, right? So it was the next day. I happened across this website thing, whatever it was, an advertisement. I was busy, and up pops this pink turtle, right, from the top. You're looking at it from the top, right? And so it was as if it was standing up dancing, and it was pink. So there was my answer. Okay. So that's a blurb on waking dreams. So use them to use these skills, use these processes, because it's like if you're looking at a property, and you're not sure, you can walk right around your uncertainties just by asking for a waking dream on it. I remember one time when I was applying to rent a house, and I looked at the house and I liked it. Now the rental market where I live is like less than 2% changeover. Like, it's extremely difficult to get a rental where I live. Very, very difficult, right? So I went look at the house and I wanted it, and so I'm standing with the owner in the driveway, and we're just talking, right? And I guess he was sizing me up. And right above my head was a branch from an oak tree, and there was this crow singing away. Just singing away, and like a nice sound, right? A nice, crows can make a caw, right? Or they can make a nice clicky or a song-like sound, right? And he was just singing away. And when I heard that, I knew I had the house, right? So that's another example of how waking dreams work. So that's my blurb on waking dreams. I hope it helps. Please challenge me on this. Try your waking dreams and challenge me, because I can take any one of your challenges on this. So, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at what Johnson has written. I just had a waking dream with the words, all for one and one for all. Yeah, so I'm getting it that was something that was good for you. Okay, you see, it works. It's right there. Next question, Melanie. Melanie is saying something very interesting here. That she was saying, I'll read it to you. I've had a couple of incredible coincidences this past couple of weeks, but they were more meaningful for the person I was happen to be talking to. I will try the simple questioning for myself. Yes, now I'll give you an example of a dream, of a waking dream I saw for somebody else. It's my ex-girlfriend, and she told me, this is 2017, 2018, 2017, and she went out to observe the setting, observe the eastern sky over the water one evening, summer evening. And as it happens, where I live, you actually look out over the ocean and you see a volcano. It's called Mount Baker. And they're standing right there, right? And we know it's a young volcano, it's gonna blow during the pole shift, right? So she said that she was sitting there on a bench by herself, looking out over the sea in that direction, not necessarily at Mount Baker, just sitting there. And the notable part of the story was that a wedding party arrived behind her, and so she was couldn't help but overhear their talking. So they were photographing, you know, the bride and groom, and somehow the topic came around to farting, and so she thought that was very funny that they were talking about farting, and so she relates the story to me, and I said, Beate, that's a waking dream. I've been trying to tell her about the pole shift ever since I met her, and she wouldn't hear any of it. And I said, that's a waking dream. Here you're looking at a volcano, Mount Baker, sitting there on a bench, facing it, you can't miss it, and there's a wedding party talking about farting. Well, what happens when a volcano farts? That's an eruption, right? So that was somebody else's waking dream. I see it all the time. So, okay, so that's my story about that. Do we have any more questions from anybody? Waking dreams can be very future oriented. Oh yeah. Well, that's the whole point, actually, of using waking dreams. I had one waking dream. I was sunning on a deck with a group of people. I was about 45 years old, and I just woke up from a sleep in the sun, and as I open my eyes, I see this blonde hair from a woman, and it was like this bizarre sort of like, you know, when you wake up, there's this blonde hair, right? Because we're all laying, you know, fairly close to each other, right? So it was 2 weeks later that I met my next girlfriend, who was a beautiful blonde, had beautiful blonde hair. So I recognize that as a premonition, you see. So I'm telling you, your oversoul, which is your true self, is constantly trying to communicate to you through the waking dream. And so that's the way it works and it's all for your benefit, right? So.
Just can I ask a question about the bunkers again, please?
Sure, yeah.
The examples that I saw that you gave, they look quite tiny. I have a family of 6.
Yeah.
Do you know, do they have bunkers large enough for family sizes, or would you have, like, I don't know, maybe 3 bunkers then for 6 people?
Well, I have done some reading recently, and I remember reading, you can get different sizes, and I distinctly remember reading about one bunker that was that could handle 6 to 8 people.
Okay.
But you have to bear in mind that you know, you may have to spend a day and a half or so in that bunker.
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to buy a bunker, now I had I must remember to tell you about this idea here. Come back to that. Box covered. Shipping containers. Yeah. I'm looking for a, yeah. So if you had a bunker, something like this, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this door opens outward, but I understand this particular bunker has a secret door on the other side, a separate entrance that opens inward. So you want a door that opens inward. So what you could do is, for example, buy something like this that could hold, maybe 6 people in there. It looks big enough for that. You probably want a little potty in there.
Yes.
And but if you embedded this standalone wouldn't work standing alone in the middle of a field because it would get battered. It wouldn't be safe. But if you buried that something like this,
Yes.
then you could have, for example, if you could dig. This is quite a bit of digging, but if you got enough manpower, right, you could dig something like that, and make sure you got trenches where the water can drain away. But you could have a metal roof over this portion here, some type of roof, and then you could have. My idea was this: you could have a cooking area outside of the bunker, right?
Okay.
So you extend the range of your bunker by digging a trench, putting it in a trench, and having the trench big enough to accommodate some cooking facilities with a cover on them. Okay. And so I ran see what this says here. Why shouldn't you bury a shipping container bunker underground? Well, what their intention here is, and typically what happens is that they'll backfill this. See the gap around the shipping container?
Yes, yes.
So typically what they do is with bunker building is they backfill it. So it's completely buried. And so what happens with shipping containers is the sides of them are not very strong, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they buckle in because the ground gets wet, pushes against the outside of the bunker, and bulges, and could possibly, I don't know, split the steel. I don't know, right? So that's a dangerous situation. But I'm looking at this thinking, well, why not just set the bunker in a trench and don't backfill. That's why I left this open, right? So don't backfill it, is what I'm saying. Okay. Here's the other solution. Right?
Put wood around it.
Yeah. These are I believe these are used railway ties.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. So
Chris, you said that we've been in the bunker for about a day and a half. I assumed that's where we'd be living in the last few months leading up to the pole shift.
well, if you could arrange that, that would take quite a bit of arranging, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So our bunker strategies I discussed this in other videos. Obviously, it depends on one's resources and where you are in the world, right? So I've suggested in the past that we should have an intermediate bunker that we could live in while getting down to the crunch in the last 3 days before the pole shift, when there's just so much wind and dust and rock flying, pebbles, that you just want to get out of the noise, right, and the dust. So that would be, so something like I discussed there would be would give you that option, right? Because you could so you'd have a steel roof there. Maybe it wouldn't be quite as wide as that one was, but you could set up something where you were underground with a roof with some ventilation. And so when it comes into the crunch, you can just move into the bunker, right? Okay. So there's so many different scenarios. I've also discussed if you have the right type of house in the right type of arrangement where the house is on a pad, you could buy the bunker that you saw there and have it pushed right into the garage. The garage has a pad on it, right? And put it right at the back of the garage and bolt it down and put it in there. I may have told you that before, but anyways, do something like that. Yeah, I haven't told you that.
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
No. Put a bunker in a garage.
Yeah, just put it right in the garage, and then you bolt it down onto the floor, cement floor, right?
Okay.
So that gives you the option to be able to run into the kitchen. That's assuming that you have any electrical current, which is probably won't be. You probably won't have electricity. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Depends where you're at, right? Or maybe you've got a gas stove in there, like a propane stove or something like that in the kitchen, right? So maybe you've got a freezer that's still cold, and you got your food in there. So, get out some eggs, cook out some eggs or whatever. You go between the house, right, and the toilet. As long as you got water, I guess, right? Water pressure, and use the toilet until the water pressure stops. And
Yes.
then use your porta potty. You just had to get creative, right? But anyway, ultimately, what happens during the pole shift, of course, is the flying rock, and the house would act as a buffer for the actual bunker. Follow? Rather than rock hitting the side of the bunker,
Yes.
it's the house is absorbing it for a while.
Okay, so you would recommend having the bunker in a garage instead of built in to the ground?
No, it'd be better in the ground. No, it's better in the ground.
Okay.
Oh no, that's your first option is to get below ground level, for sure.
Okay.
That's
So
just
it doesn't have to have soil over the roof, just like put it into the ground. Because the pictures that I'm seeing, there's no soil over the roof.
I'm not quite understanding your word, but let me just say this again. If you buy a tornado bunker, right? That's what these things are, right? They're tornado bunkers, right? I'm going to go back here to the. For example, we were looking at.
So I'm saying with this picture, there's no soil, there's no ground above the bunker. It's just on the sides.
Like,
do we not need to bury the whole thing under?
You should do that if you can.
Okay.
The bunker should be all below ground. As you can see, this one here. Can you see this picture here of this one?
Yes.
They've embedded it in a hill, right? So you can see that the wind, is going to pretty much blow over top. And I'm quite sure this is not finished, right? They've got this top layer here that looks like they're still working on, right? So you definitely want a top layer on a steel container, right? Because the roof itself may or may not, depending, be strong enough. So you definitely want, say for example, pole shift is like a day away and you got a whole pile of sandbags here, right? I would just throw all the sandbags on top of the roof there and get in there, right? You want to protect the roof of your bunker. And it shouldn't be exposed to because you've got rock, right? You're flying rock. Okay? But the simplest bunker is a trench with a roof. Okay?
Yes, okay.
So you could have a combination of the two. You could have the trench and you could have the tornado bunker nearby, right, to live in. It all depends on your situation, where you're at, right?
I was saying, I've heard you say before that wherever we are going to bunk out, it shouldn't have too much glass because of reflection going into the distance for people
Oh,
to see.
yes. Oh, yeah. Well,
Would
yeah,
that
you don't want
apply to
any.
solar panels as well?
Well, that's after-time stuff, right? That's after-time stuff, like glass and solar panels. right?
Okay.
So that's all buried. All your aftertime stuff, your housing and your food and your immediate housing, your tent and your yurt and all the stuff you're planning to set up after the pole shift, right? For your new life is buried, or it's in another steel container, buried, right? So you have to protect.
We have all the equipment buried so that we can set up afterwards.
That's right. So you don't want anything exposed during the pole shift. You want, because anything above ground is going to be destroyed during the pole shift.
Okay.
Right. So you got to bury all this stuff.
Okay.
Okay. And then when you set it up, depending on where you're at, like you'll be in Africa, right?
Yes.
So I think it would probably be a good idea for you to invest in some camouflage material.
Yes. Okay.
Or setting up where you won't be seen. Very important not to be seen. Okay?
Yes.
Don't want to be seen. Right? You don't want any smoke trails in the sky. You don't want any. Somebody was saying earlier about somewhere else about having, if you're cooking, don't cook with meat outside because the odors will attract wild animals, right?
Okay.
Right. So I would cook. Well, that's why you get your store of food. So you're just warming it up. You're not frying it. You'd imagine a steak frying. The aroma of a steak frying would be irresistible, even to myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm vegetarian, so that won't be an issue for me.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm vegetarian. So
I think I knew that for some reason. I'm saying that, so you don't have to worry about that then.
Yeah.
Unless it was some really nice dish that you had to warm up and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying you probably want to, if you're going to cook, you're going to cook inside.
Yes.
And not outside.
Yeah. Okay, I'll research bunkers.
Yeah, and of course get yourself freeze-dried food, right?
Yeah.
And just learn to eat cool food or slightly warmed food, so you're not emitting a lot of odors from your living space for the first little while until you have a sense, and that this is where you're using your waking dreams, that it's safe, that there's no crazy people in the neighborhood, right? That's going to come your way. That's waking dreams.
So after the pole shift, how long do you think it would take till we get back to somewhat normality?
That would depend where you are in the world, right? And that would also depend on whether you had a community or not of like-minded people.
Yes, I'm not gonna, because the countries that I've chosen I've never been to before, so that's all I'm gonna have to learn when I get there. Yeah. What community and what like-minded people I could be around.
As I said, set your intentions.
Yeah.
You're going to set your intentions that you want to meet the right people for you, for a safe location, for a community, and then a little community, small community will form around you, right?
Yeah.
And then you set that intention.
Can I just talk about waking dreams just quickly?
Yep.
Because I heard you say as well, sometimes people can get confused with hunches and preferences. So the country that I'm choosing to go to, I had to ask my ancestors, like, is that actually safe for my family and I? Am I going there because it's a beautiful country or because you want us to go there? And I just wanted some clarity. So they showed me an image of a map. And the country that I want to go to, they had a torch shining on it, flickering on that same country, letting me know, you might want to go there, but that's where we're telling you to go as well.
Okay, so that's Ghana?
No, that's actually Tanzania.
Tanzania.
The reason I was asking about Ghana is because Tanzania, I'm hearing a lot of issues of visas to get into the country. Not to
Oh,
get in, to
yeah, but
stay
see,
there
that's
long term.
yeah, that's a lot of that's going to be changing, right? So if you had a vision, right?
Well, yeah, it was during meditation I asked my ancestors, where should I go?
And
I
you had
choosing
that
Tanzania
vision?
because I like it. Yeah, they showed me a map and they had a torch flickering on it saying, yes, Tanzania.
That's where you should go.
Yeah.
That's a case in point.
It was quite clear.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's, yeah.
I just have to get around the visa issues.
Yeah, well, so, so then now you ask in meditation what your next step is.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you're getting that type of vision, then you could get more visions like that. Right? So I would keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay, I appreciate it, Chris.
Okay. Okay, you're welcome. Oh, hi, Cindy. You've been very patient. I see you. I know you're patient. I can tell. Okay, why don't you ask the question again, Cindy?
Okay. So I've been looking at places that have basements in the house, and a lot of them have a lot of ground on two sides, like with no windows. But couldn't you just get something that would push the dirt up around like the rest of the house and make it secure that basement underground like that?
In a pinch, yeah, in a pinch. In a pinch, yep. So did you understand waking dreams?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Go back.
Well.
Okay, let's go back to your question. I'm gonna go back to your answer. Finish answering the question. Okay, so the problem will be drainage, water, because the amount of water that's going to be coming from the sky will be unbelievable, right? And the ground will be soaked, so the water will be moving around, right?
Okay.
So basements would be, they're designed to be more or less impervious to water, more or less, right? So they're like swimming pools, right? So it's going to fill up with water.
Okay.
During the pole shift, because the roof will get pulled off, and the rain will be coming in, and rock. We don't worry about that right now, but a lot of water will be coming in. So you'd have to have something to deal with the water. So if a basement is like 8 feet high, right? Typically they're 8 feet, right? Kind of, right? So one gentleman I consulted with, I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier in this video, in the unrecorded section, but he was bound and determined to weather out the pole shift in his house. And he was so determined. He was in a safe area, but I said, okay, well, he was young and he had family, he was very strong and very motivated. So I figured, okay, well, let's just go with this because, a lot of people, well, anyways, so I said, well, punch a hole in the side of the foundation, ground level, like floor level, and have dig a ditch out so that any water that fell into the basement would be able to drain out through that opening. And of course, that also means that any structure that you probably want to have a structure that you're inside the basement, not just inside the basement, right? So that structure would need to be up from the floor. It'd have to be securely mounted above the floor, a couple of feet. So at least you'd have, you know, enough space for the water to rise 2 feet while it was draining out the hole. And
Okay.
hopefully the hole doesn't get plugged up with debris during the pole shift, which it likely would anyways. So you may have to
So,
to
from the
leave the
pers-
bunker. You may have to leave the bunker during the pole shift, open the door to make sure that that hole is still free for the water to flow out.
okay.
So that's what we
So
just.
it'd just be better if I'm gonna push dirt around anyway, I might as well just get trying to be in a basement then.
Yeah,
And just dig a hole and put the,
yeah.
yeah,
If you've got a basement, you've got a cement. You've got something to start with, right? So you could dig a trench next to the house somehow, right?
okay,
So then at least you've got a foundation wall. Maybe you're going to leave a couple of feet of soil between the edge of where you're going to be, the wall, right, where your tomato bunker is going to be or something. Your bunker is going to be 2 feet of soil, and then the foundation of the house kind of thing.
mhm,
So at least you've got some protection from that side, right?
right,
So there's
Okay.
that possibility. So tornado bunker embedded in the ground with drainage next to the house.
So I know in some of your videos you say Northern California,
Yeah.
no, not at all.
If you you heard the dream, you saw what Invierno was saying. You heard she was in meditation, and she saw that. If you had a dream like that, like a vision like that, while meditating, for northeastern California, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that would be the place to go. But unless you had a vision of that quality, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, no.
Or unless you got more money, unless you're like a multi-millionaire, and you know what? Multi-millionaires, you never know what they look like. You know, I've met lots of them, right? And they're just like
Yeah.
regular folk. You can't tell they're millionaires, right? My own brother's a millionaire,
Yeah.
and he's got 2 sons that are millionaires, and they won't
Yeah.
hear a word from me.
Yeah.
So-
if I had my husband on board, there'd be a lot more money involved. But with my pocketbook, yeah,
Okay.
it's just not. He's still not on board,
Okay.
and he still thinks that we're in a safe place. And I showed him your map from last Zoom where we're going to be underwater, and he just doesn't believe me.
Okay. Have you asked him how much research he's done?
None. He's done none. I mean, he just thinks that he feels that God gave us this property and that he brought us here 13 years ago, and we have 2 wells, and
Cindy, okay. The 2 things you got to do. Number 1, you have to set your intentions of what
okay,
you want. It's not asking. You're not pleading. You're not
Right.
praying. You're not on your knees. Right? You are deciding what it is you want moving forward to the pole shift and through the pole shift. You decide what you want. Right? Never mind, your external conditions. Right? What's going on. Right?
right,
You decide what you want, and not only that, you also include how you will feel about that.
mm-hmm.
Like you feel good, right?
Yeah, I
Right?
do.
Yeah.
I mean,
No. I'm saying if you for what you want, just that you decide on for if you're setting your intentions, are you going to move forward to some solutions, right?
Mhm.
You're not detailing the solutions. That's very important. You don't add detail to an intention, because you decide what it is you want, and you let the universe move things around, move you around, and move things and people around you to get those attentions. That's how it works, right? So
Mhm.
is that making any sense to you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And you know that well, you're younger than me, but you know that when we grew up, and most especially even today, nobody tells you that you have the power.
Mhm.
It's all, oh, we got to wait for this certificate. Oh, you can't do that because the government says this and that, right? Right? Oh, it's like you're always waiting for external conditions to give you permission, right? Be it cultural, political, or governmental, right? Or even just normal conditions. Are we waiting for the weather to change before we go for a walk? Fuck it.
No.
You go out for a
No.
walk in the rain, right? Because that's what you want to do, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
so we're not taught that we have the power. We're taught that the conditions and other things have the power, and that's a falsehood, right? And it's not just to do with the current political situation or the deep state or anything like that. It's about the culture, right? And
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not waiting for anybody else to rescue me, whether
yeah,
it's the
yeah,
government or
yeah. No,
I
that's
mean,
I'm just
right. I totally understand that. It's part of me is trying to get it. I don't want to feel like I'm abandoning my family to do what I feel um, driven to do, or that I'm feeling called to do. And that's the hard part, is that um, that's where I'm at. I
okay.
mean, believe me, I could pack up my car and drive away from here. It's just that I know that when this happens, I feel like in some ways that I, like I said, it's that feeling like I'm abandoning people that
Okay.
may need me. And if I stay, then maybe there's some way I can help them, but maybe not.
Okay. So that is emotional, and it's perfectly normal. It's emotional, and it's from your ego. It's okay. We all got that, right?
Right.
Now I want to address that, but I want to just finish my thought on setting your intentions. Is that all I was doing is saying is this, setting the stage for setting your intentions, right? And that is that we have the power, and it's not taught to us. So we have to take back our power by setting our intentions, and you add how you feel about being in the situation that you're setting your intentions for, right? That's important, the feeling, that how you'd feel about that, okay? Because that's what helps to get the attention of your oversoul. Okay, so you include all that in your intentions, and then, okay, so now the thing is, you've had the calling, right? So it's up to you to become the single particle that forms the raindrop that creates the rainstorm. Because we know that a drop can't form without a particle first, right? In a cloud, right? So you're that particle. So you've had the calling. So you're setting your intentions moving forward, right? And then those people who are, those people who are your loved ones and the people that you would love to follow you, right? Will have to. So I have to watch this just a sec. they have to, they will fall in behind you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
you're going to set. So do you? Okay. So you set your intentions and how you feel about it moving forward and what you want to see happen, and then you let that happen. Okay. Meanwhile, the flip side is waking dream.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So waking dreams are excellent on detail. So it's like a waking dream is like, how am I doing, oversoul? When am I doing? You know, it's more into detail, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you ask for a waking dream to tell you the next step in your moving forward, right? It's not your intentions because you already set them.
Right.
And you're asking now for a little detail on you're just asking because you're gonna take the information, right? Whereas when
Right.
you set your intentions, you're creating a pathway. Okay, the pathway will be created by the universe, by your subconscious mind, which is connected to your oversoul, which is connected to, I hesitate to use the word, but it's connected to God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the
Mm-hmm.
God power, or the God spirit, or whatever you want to call it, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
that intimate connection we have is through our subconscious mind. And here's an interesting thing about the subconscious mind: it takes instruction. The problem is, if you give it bad instructions, it'll act on those.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful about well, they say you have to be careful what you ask for, right? So
Right.
so you that's where you set that, you spend some time figuring out, writing it out, whatever you got to do to figure out what you want going forward without the detail. Give you an example. I'm sorry to go on about this, but I'm very passionate about this because
Mm-hmm.
it's at a gal, one of the videos, and I said, she said she's in California, and I said, oh, well, you're going to move, aren't you? She says, well, I set my intentions. I said, what were the intentions? And I said that she set the intentions that the mountain she lived on in the Sierras would be safe for my family. And I said, that's not how you set the intentions. And you know that. I'm just saying it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what she did was she created a detail within her intentions, and that's not. Should be, I want to be safe with my family, in a safe location,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as I said earlier, let the universe move you around. But getting back to your whole thing with the family and your needs, your desires, and it's very, everyone has that. Well, many people I've talked to have the same. We
Mm-hmm.
want our family to be with us, right? And they're not recognizing it, right? So
Well, he recognizes the earthquakes. I mean, he's been watching them for 10 years.
okay,
And he knows they're happening and he sees it. And so I know I try and tell myself, well, maybe he's not meant to leave. Maybe it's really just me is meant to leave. I mean, if he's not getting, because I've had this pull internally for like 7 years, feeling like I needed to be somewhere else with my fear,
okay,
And so that's the hard part is that
okay.
when you have that feeling of that, and I've expressed it, and it's not.
Okay. Well,
it's not a feeling he has. He has a feeling of being safe, and this is safe.
okay. Well, that's something that obviously you're going to have to work out within your own mind, within your own heart, right? So,
Right.
so you could ask for a waking dream for your way forward on that. Right? So you just decide, well, ask, well, what's my next step in regards to that? Okay? And then
Right.
see what comes as a result of it. Now, have you been noticing any synchronicity stuff for any waking dream stuff before? Have
You
you worked
know,
out
it's
that?
been interesting lately. I've been like, I'll have these out of state. Like the other day, I had a license plate like on the freeway from Kentucky, and I'm thinking, what is a car from Kentucky doing all the way here? I
Okay.
mean, and so not just that one. I mean, there's been a couple other out of state license plates that I'm seeing, and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting.
Well, were you thinking about moving out of state?
Yeah.
Well, obviously you have,
kinda-
right? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I have, and I was kind of looking around in Kentucky area.
Ah,
I actually do own a house in another state, but I kind of asked you about it, and it's in northern Alabama, and part of the problem is that you said that would be like tent city.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and
Okay. Well, send me the coordinates.
Okay.
Email me the exact coordinates in Google Maps format.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll comment. So you've got the calling, you've got the power. Also, play around with waking dreams on a smaller level, on a smaller scale. Okay.
Yeah,
As
because
for
my mom, so I inherited this house, and I sometimes feel like I have my mom calling me like, I gave you this place to go, and why aren't you there?
okay, well, okay,
Like, if that's kind of an indication, because her and I were really close,
okay.
and so it's kind of like, so I have been feeling pulled that way.
Okay, hold it. Now, are you saying that she's told you that you have like you heard the words?
Because she's passed, she's been gone for about 4 years.
Yeah, I talk to
And
people,
so-
dead people all the time. So
Right, and I feel like she is telling me, I gave you this safe place to be. Why
no, but
aren't
hold it.
there?
You said it seems. You said it seems.
No, she's gave me a safe place, and she is asking me why that I'm not there.
Are you hearing the words in your head?
Yeah.
And it's her. And do you talk to her
Yeah.
Do you talk to her once in a while? Do you see her in your dreams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making
I
sure,
do.
you're not
Yeah.
making, that you're not just like feeling this or, thinking it, right? If you're actually getting that, then that's great. So send me the coordinates and I'll comment on that.
Okay.
But you got the power, you got the calling. So
Yeah.
you have to be that raindrop that forms the rainstorm that you want in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I will definitely do that. I'll
Okay.
email you it.
Okay.
You can
All right.
let me know.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Milan is asking about a license plate from Hawaii in Chicago. I just gave a person a consultation who's living in Hawaii. And I'm telling you, better know what you're doing when you go to Hawaii. I'm telling you that. Because once you're in Hawaii, you ain't going nowhere, right? In the after time, it doesn't work out, right? So, as it happens, we worked something out with this gal, right, who lives on the Big Island. We worked something out, but she's been living there for a while. So anybody approaches me saying, "What do you think about moving to Hawaii?" I'm like, well, I tell you, make sure you've got very, very clear indications from your oversoul through hunches, visions, sleep dreams, lucid dreams, or waking dreams that Hawaii is calling you, right? And then it's not a preference or some belief system or some crazy concept you got about beautiful life in Hawaii in the aftertime and dancing girls. Whatever it is in your mind, you better wipe it out, right? And make sure that it's oversoul talking to you, right? So that was from a male perspective. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Anyways. Well, this is certainly the most people I've ever had in a group. It was up to over 30 there for a while. That's awesome. Because I'm wanting to get out the message about safe locations. As I said earlier in the unrecorded portion of my video, that I just fell into doing this because nobody else was doing this work. And I'm asking for anyone who has seen anybody doing this type of work, aside from the great Zeta Talk, of course, let me know, please, because I'd like to find out. But yeah, so I'm just doing this as long as I can and to help people. So anyway, so God, it's almost 3 hours we've been going, so I guess we'll call it a night, and thank everyone for coming in. And all right, so I'll say good night to everybody. And yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Good night.
Okay, good night.